The town of Normal considers a ban on more smoke shops in Uptown. The mayor says it's time to at least have a discussion.
I think most of the council is looking for is maintaining a balance, an equilibrium in the Uptown area.
That conversation just ahead on WGLT's Sound Ideas. Good evening, I'm John Norton. On today's show, Normal's Mayor Chris Koos also discusses various ideas to spend or not spend the county's mental health funding. And country superstar Lee Brice steps out of his comfort zone for a solo acoustic tour.
In theory, this sounds pretty entertaining. But I was so afraid to get on the stage and do it for the first time. It's because people have seen me out there rocking out with the band for so long.
Brice's tour includes a stop in Bloomington this weekend. Those stories follow a Bloomington Normal News update just ahead. This is Sound Ideas on 89.1 WGLT and WGLT.org, part of the NPR network.
Support for WGLT comes from Bloomington Normal Audiology. Here My Story continues with local patients Ralph and Carol Weisheit.
I was actually going to add that was one of the reasons that you went, was because I kept saying, you're not listening to me.
And she thought it was my hearing, yeah.
See what I got to live with?
Ralph and Carol's full story can be found at bnaudiology.com.
From the campus of Illinois State University in Normal, this is WGLT's news magazine, Sound Ideas. Good evening, I'm John Norton. The portion of Bloomington Normal sales tax money that goes to the county for mental health services and other purposes is much in the news lately. This week, Bloomington City Manager Tim Gleason suggested some of it could be used to support help for the homeless. Now, Normal Council member Kathleen Lorenz has suggested capping the sales tax portion sent to the county. In this interview with WGLT's Charlie Schlenker, Normal Mayor Chris Koos reacts to Gleason's idea, but is less willing to address Lorenz's proposal.
You'll have to talk to her about that.
What do you think of the idea?
I don't want to address that.
Why not?
Because that's, we're going to have conversations about how those dollars get used. But she just took a flyer on that. I don't know what she meant by that.
What kind of conversation needs to happen about how those dollars are used?
It's a significant amount of money that we put to the county, and it's for multiple reasons. One is the Aegis system, which is a very complicated digital platform that manages court actions, police actions, county sheriff actions, things like that. And the system's very old, and that has to be replaced. So we're helping fund that. And the other thing we're funding is some jail costs, because the county does central booking. That's a cost that we need to share.
And the mental health programming.
And then the mental health program.
City Manager Tim Gleason of Bloomington has suggested that in this conversation should be homeless services or permanent supportive housing, or the idea that if there is a market uptick in the demand for services because of migrant arrivals in the community, that should be all part of what pays for it, perhaps. What do you think of those topics?
Well, I think those are very definite topics that affect the community. We do have what I'd consider an increasing homeless population. I wouldn't say it's getting out of control like it is in some of the bigger cities, but it's definitely an issue in the community. And those issues tend to be related to mental health issues, drug addiction, alcohol addiction, and people that are just down on their luck.
It's gone up, according to the draft Regional Housing Recovery Plan, by 160% in 5 years. At what point of increase does it become out of control, if not 160%?
I tend not to look at it in terms of percentages of increase. If you went from 10 to 20, that's a 100% increase. I'm more concerned about the numbers. 2,200
in McLean County, and 200 of them are kids, according to that report. With those numbers, how serious is it for you?
It's a serious problem. I mean, it's something we're all seeing in the community, and there are people that need help. There are grant programs out there that we've been looking at, working with state and federal government, as well as the dollars that we're spending locally, and the shared sales tax should all be part of that solution.
How should the conversation with the county and the other stakeholders, including the 501c3s that are delivering homeless services, be structured to arrive at a potential funding mechanism, whether it's grants, as you alluded to, or the sales tax money, too?
The conversation's going on right now with the two city managers and county administrator, in terms of how we're going to allocate those dollars, and then working with the Behavioral Health Coordinating Council, who kind of, in the county sense, controls those dollars. Now, we give input to this. We don't actually control it.
Is there a go, no-go decision point that requires a sign-off from the council, or even simply a thumbs up from the council, even if it's not a formal sign-off?
I wouldn't say a formal go, no-go at this point, no. There really isn't. I mean, there's coordination between the staffs of the city and the town, and we're informed at the council level, as is Bloomington at the council level, as is the county board, in terms of what is happening and what's the potential uses of those dollars. Now, if a decision is made that goes outside the agreement that we signed with the county, then we'll have to take formal action.
Is homeless services contemplated in that agreement?
I couldn't say at this time.
Depending on whether you frame it as mental health services, and there's an argument for that.
This is a conversation you should have with the people coordinating this, Charlie.
I had rather thought it was a community-wide conversation.
It is a community-wide conversation, I agree. Now, again, you're asking me for concrete directions and decisions that I can't answer.
Is there a hoped-for timeline at all for coming to resolution of the conversation?
Well, there's an ongoing timeline. I won't say that there are milestones that I'm aware of as we go along, and to say a resolution of the situation. I don't think a resolution's in the works. I think dealing with the issues that confront us, I don't see any endpoint of this.
This is Sound Ideas. I'm Charlie Schlenker. We're talking with Mayor Chris Koos of the town of Normal. The council's considering limiting the number of smoking establishments in Uptown. Why?
I think it's more important that we're looking at the mix of businesses in Uptown. We have a plan for Uptown, and we spent quite a bit of money on that. And we had permitted uses and non-permitted uses, and those were done 20-some years ago, and we're looking at the changes in the marketplace and how it affects the overall Uptown environment. In the ordinance, it was a conversation about limiting the number of those types of establishments in the Uptown area. There's no ordinance written yet, so we're actually starting a process where the discussion starts at Planning Commission.
Is there a precedent for limiting certain types of businesses in Uptown?
In the sense that the town has always required alcohol establishments to be equally in the food business, I would say that would be the comparable.
Well, as part of the genesis of the Uptown, whether it was enshrined in the actual plan or not, I don't recall, there was a concern that there were too many rundown college dives in Uptown, or in downtown Normal, as it was called then, and that was part of the reason for trying to upgrade the building stock, to create rules for what you did want there.
Well, I think the overarching on that, Charlie, is something you've got to take into account too. Is the vision was for an 18-hour Uptown area, and that's where that's a way of saying that there were opportunities, equal opportunities for everyone who would go into the Uptown area, and not to have it become exclusive of the university and not to have it become a campus town.
So how does limiting smoking establishments go toward that goal?
In my opinion, and because we haven't done anything yet, is maintaining a balance in the Uptown of the types of businesses and opportunities.
You've been at various points on various issues such as housing, stimulus, in favor, at least at some level, of letting the marketplace decide. Why is this different, potentially? And I know you haven't taken a position on the ordinance because there isn't one yet. But
right. Again, the thing I'm looking for, and I think most of the council is looking for, is maintaining a balance, an equilibrium in the Uptown area.
Tobacco products are legal. Why restrain that?
We want them in balance with everything else, with the restaurants, with the retail.
But if the marketplace wants that many there, why not?
We'll see, won't we? See what the general feeling is.
Do you personally think it's out of balance?
No, currently it isn't. No, I don't feel it's out of balance at all right now. Okay. I think there's a good mix of businesses in the Uptown area.
So is this a solution in search of a problem?
We will see on that. Again, You're pointing me to an ordinance that says we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and we're not there.
Are you leaning against the concept of such limitations, or encoding some sort of balancing provision?
I am in a position we're going to take a look at it.
This is Sound Ideas. I'm Charlie Schlenker. We're talking with Mayor Chris Koos of the town of Normal. The council has passed restrictions on pedestrians loitering in intersections where they're not a pedestrian crosswalk and where there might be some hazard to the public or to the pedestrians themselves. Is that necessary?
It very much is.
How much of an issue has this been?
It's a growing issue, and we see it growing in frequency and location. And the issue is, in a public space, let's take, for example, the intersection of College and Veterans Parkway, or say College Avenue and Landmark Drive, are very high traffic areas, and there are people in the intersections collecting. Sometimes it's for charities, sometimes it's panhandling. So the issue is it's not a safe environment to have that happen.
It's couched in safety, but is this code for we don't want panhandlers?
No, it is not. There's a fair number of other places, and you've seen them, a lot of them on private property, and we have no interest in controlling that. Our primary interest is safety in those environments, and this affects, there are panhandlers that work in those locations, but there are also charities that do charity drives and stop cars for donations in those locations, and we feel it is not a safe environment for that.
How important is this to the public? Are you hearing about it in communications from residents?
We are hearing about it. It is a common complaint about panhandling in the community, and it's a growing issue. Some people ignore it. It's like, I'll give them money, I won't give them money. Other people feel intimidated by it.
Is there sentiment on the council above and beyond the safety issue for controlling this behavior?
Not at this point, no.
Nobody's talked about it?
No.
That's Chris Koos. He's the mayor of Normal. He spoke with WGLT's Charlie Schlenker. Tomorrow on Sound Ideas, Rivian set to reveal its new, more affordable electric SUV, and that'll be tomorrow. We'll have a report on Sound Ideas.
Stores like Macy's are shutting down lots of outlets. Meanwhile, luxury and discount stores are thriving. Retail and the shrinking shopping middle class. Next time on Marketplace.
Listen to Marketplace beginning at 5:30 this afternoon on WGLT, sponsored by CEFCU.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
President Biden takes to the podium for his third State of the Union.
It is one thing to sort of say, I am the person who is fighting for you, but if you appear as though you don't have a lot of fight in you, that's not particularly compelling.
The challenge Biden faces in his big speech tomorrow on Morning Edition from NPR News. I'm co-host Dave Martinez. Join us for Morning Edition weekdays from 4 to 9 a.m. on WGLT.
Stories and conversations around Bloomington, Normal, and McLean County. This is WGLT's Sound Ideas. Country music superstar Lee Brice stops in Bloomington this week. His first solo acoustic tour, called Me and My Guitar, will be at the Bloomington Center for the Performing Arts on Saturday, just a day after a new single drops with Christian rock artist Zach Williams. Brice's brother Louis appears on several of the Me and My Guitar stops, including this one. Brice tells WGLT's Lauren Warnicki the decision to bring his brother along was like,
duh. I mean, it's nothing better. Louis is just doing so well, and he's just working so hard and kicking so much butt, that it's really fun to be able to be up there on stage with your family and your friends,
From a layman's perspective, you've kind of done it all: writing, producing, solo artist, big band, collaborations, all the things. But this is your first acoustic tour, is that right?
I mean, yeah, it's kind of, I've done many acoustic shows and stuff. But it's me and literally just me and a guitar. I just really had a vision to go, look, I want it to be a solo tour, but I want it to feel and be more than that. I was kind of well, in theory, what I came up with, in theory, this sounds pretty entertaining. I was but I was so afraid to get on the stage and do it for the first time. It's because people have seen me out there rocking out with the band for so long. Luckily, they've also, in every show, they've seen me at least kick the band off stage for at least a song or two.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. I really do. You brought all these flowers and your black dresses and suits, but y'all know me, and you know the truth. That ain't me in that box there in front of you.
You know what I mean?
Can't I just get an
that part of me? But man, this thing, we got out there and we did it, and people seem to really, heck, I don't even know if they care to hear me sing as much as just kind of hearing the stories between the songs. And
I'm telling y'all, you should be fishing with a cold beer in your hand. Instead of missing me here, y'all could be missing me there, high up in your deer stand. Save my truck.
So it's been really, really fun and really rad. I mean, it feels so good to walk out of there knowing that everybody was laughing and crying and just in it with me, you know?
I think they were probably there for the songs too, if I'm being honest. But your songs connect with so many types of people and connect on various levels. And I'm thinking about a compare and contrast between a song like More Beer, right, and a song like Save the Roses, all living in the same space.
There's a line of trucks pulling up in the driveway, barefoot, tan legs swinging off tailgates. Everybody knows everybody in town. When you call a couple friends, man, word gets around.
I wonder if you can fashion a guest as to, how you've been able to stay so versatile and access so many different types of folks through your music.
Well, overall, I mean, some of my big influences did that. They, like, say Garth Brooks went from Ain't Going Down to The Sun Comes Up to The Dance. You know what I mean? And so that, to me, that was the bar. It's like, okay, well, I can do whatever I want to do. And then after that, it was like, well, now I'm a fan of all this other music, top 40 and this and that, and John Mayer and blues, and well, just like, say, Garth was. And I just decided that if I wanted to be able to, I'm only get one chance to record music, and so I want to record all of it, not just one little piece. And right now, there's a lot of folks that just, they hear Love Like Crazy or I Don't Dance or A Little Hard to Love, and that's kind of like the lane they think that I am, and I'm really just trying to expand that, and just for me too. I'm just doing what feels good,
Hey there, son, it's Dad again. I know you're busy, I'm just checking in. Just call me later if you get a chance. I don't want nothing, I was just wondering how
you also put out a new recent single, Checking In, and I'm hearing that this will actually be part of a larger project with a movie coming out in April. Is that right?
Yeah, and it's not my single coming out. It's really, King and Country. It's their song.
Yeah.
And so I'm featuring on it. But it is so cool because, yes, there's a big movie, and I got to see like an early copy of the movie because they were like, we're going to do a video. We'd love for you to see the movie before you come in to shoot the video so you can sort of have the vibe of what the whole video concept is going to be about. And so it was really cool to see the movie early, and it's really great, really fun to see that and to be a part of that with those guys. They're so talented, and again, in that world, it's really cool.
No telling how many times I've let that message play. He's been gone a while, but it still feels like yesterday. I even call him back sometimes.
And yeah, I'm a part of that, but I got my own single coming out in April, so we're excited about that.
Is that Drinking Buddies? Is that the one that you've been kind of hinting around? Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really good. Well, there's something about Drinking Buddies that when I heard it, I haven't really ever heard a song that had camaraderie between like a guy and a girl. Usually if you got a guy and a girl in a song, it's like this duet thing, right? That's most likely a love song or a breakup song or something that has to do with that rather than, a girl just being like one of your buddies and like you're going to pick her up whenever if she said, hey, we got you, girl. I just haven't really seen that in a song and directly, clearly like that. And so it just really caught my attention. It's one I didn't write, and I just was like, man, this is a smash.
So I know on March 8th, you've got a new single coming out, right, with Zach Williams. What can you tell us about that?
Well, that is such a cool thing, that Zach is, in a world that I even, considered kind of going into, and just professionally, before I came into country. I mean, so when I met Zach and kind of his soul and his style, I was like, well, I mean, that's basically exactly what I love to do.
And it's spreading like a wildfire in my heart. A Sunday morning, hallelujah,
and it's lasting all week long. Can you hear?
And so he, we sat down and just wrote. Honestly, we just wrote one day just to kind of write. But the song came out to be really cool, and he reached out, a year later or whatever, just recently and a little bit back, and he was like, "Man, we would love to kind of put this together. Would you want to be on it?" And so I was honored to be on it. I mean, he is such a talent, and I am excited because the song really does. I mean, again, that's another part of who I am. So I'm genuinely excited to be on something like that with Zach. And it's kind of like the footprint that I'm trying to leave everywhere, like, from that world all the way around music,
Do you have time for one more question?
Yes, ma'am.
I was just thinking about your story, your fairy tale of a career, right? But it's not necessarily the conventional path. And I just wondered, that kid who was playing football at Clemson, and when you got injured and decided to really put your whole self into music, you couldn't have known that this is what was going to happen.
Well, Mama always told me, even with little things when I was a kid and then adolescent, and, oh my God, that girl, I like her, Mama, and she don't like me, kind of thing, and she would always just say the same thing that really, if you take to heart, really does kind of calm that. And this happens. It's the same thing. It's like, God's got, if that doesn't work out, God's got something even better. Once I realized that was like a very true, to me, like a tangible, true statement, when it came to football, and it just stopped because of what, my elbow and all the things. It was like God, I said, well, Mom always said this, and it was just true. And so it was like, well, music has got to be it now. Like, this is it. And truthfully, music was the deepest part of me anyway. So it was just very natural for me to just do what I was doing and go to Nashville. And when I went there was no question. It wasn't like it was a backup plan. It was just what I'm going to do.
Hey, world, leave me alone. You don't call me up today. I won't be picking up the phone. I'm going to sit here.
Lee Brice, we cannot wait to see you and your guitar and your brother in Bloomington next week. I really appreciate you taking the time.
We are so excited to be there. And, you're not too far away from Nashville, so I've got some friends coming up, and it's going to be really special, and we're excited.
Could you give me a minute to catch my breath today? I don't need that long.
Lee Brice and the Me and My Guitar Tour with Louis Brice is Saturday at the Bloomington Center for Performing Arts. Brice spoke with WGLT's Lauren Warnicki. And that's Sound Ideas today. WGLT's news magazine is made possible in part by Bloomington Normal Audiology. I'm John Norton, story help from WGLT's Charlie Schlenker and Lauren Warnicki. Ryan Toohey edits the show. This is 89.1 WGLT and WGLT.org, part of the NPR network.